welcome to this meeting. I'm Caroline Martin. I'm a Unite Union member and a member of Gorton Against Poverty. The title of the meeting today is Concerns about Devo Manc, Northern Powerhouse or Northern Power Cut. It's been organised by the Greater Manchester Referendum Campaign, Greater Manchester Unite the Community Branch and Greater Manchester TUC. Labour MP for Gorton, Gerald Kaufman, MP since 1970, a government minister in the 1970s and a member of the Shadow Cabinet for 12 years from the 1980s until 1992. Since the election, he's been holding the title of Father of the House of Commons, meaning he's the MP with the longest unbroken service. And Gerald has expressed strong reservations about Devo Manc. And our other speaker, we welcome Emma Runswick, an undergrad at the University of Manchester. She's training to be a doctor. She's part of the Save Our NHS campaign, and she's an expert on the probable effects of Devo Manc on the NHS and our local health and social care provision. So firstly, over to Gerald.
Thank you very much, and thank you for organising this meeting. And thank you very much for coming. Could I say right away that I don't like the word Devo Manc? There's something deliberately quaint about it. What it is a decision by this government that there shall be what they call devolution to Manchester. Now, we're all in favour of local control, and we've got Peter Cookson, Councillor for Gorton South, here as an example of what local control can achieve. But there's only one example of local control in all of these pages of what's being put forward, but not just put forward, what's been decided over our heads. It's a very peculiar form of devolution that the central government decides what devolution shall be. And in all of these powers and in all of what is being not just proposed, but what has been decided by the government for Manchester, there's only one time that anybody gets a vote. By anybody, I don't mean members of councils, though they don't get a vote either. The only time that you or I will get a vote on these decisions, I keep on blundering into saying proposals, but they're not proposals, they're decisions, is electing a mayor for Greater Manchester. And we get a mayor for Greater Manchester whether we want one or not. When some years ago the previous government, the Conservative Liberal Democrat coalition, proposed that there be an elected mayor for the city of Manchester, then what happened was that we had a debate in the House of Commons. We voted against the government on it. The government was defeated, a very rare thing to happen to any government, and nevertheless they went ahead with a referendum in this city, our city, the city of Manchester, and the people voted against having an elected mayor. They liked, and what they wanted was a council elected by them making decisions on the factors that were available to the City of Manchester, with a Lord Mayor who represents the council on ceremonial occasions, so that when we have a carnival in Gorton, the Lord Mayor of the City of Manchester turns up and does the honours. Very nice, with his or her chain. The Mayor of Greater Manchester will be, and it's been decided, will be, whether we want it or not, the executive mayor of the 10 boroughs that make up Greater Manchester. Well, Greater Manchester's fine, but when you look at the powers that are going to be given under this alleged devolution, those powers are not going to be decided by you. They're not going to be decided by your vote. The one time when you will go to a polling station is to vote on who should be the mayor of Greater Manchester. 2 million people, very, very different issues, very, very different problems in each of the boroughs, and already they've gone ahead and done it even before the election, because they've had a procedure under which the present Police and Crime Commissioner, Tony Lloyd, is taking the powers of the mayor before the mayor has been elected. Now, I'm not criticising Tony Lloyd personally. He's always been a good friend of mine from when he was Member of Parliament for Manchester Central. But Tony has been given these powers now, and let's face it, the implication of his being placed there is that he will be the strongest candidate for mayor when there is an election for mayor. And we will have, it's going to happen, we will have a mayor with all kinds of complicated powers, planning, for example. I don't know about you, but I can't say I'm thrilled with the planning powers that are allocated to Manchester City Council, but at least it's in our city. But this will be with 10 boroughs, planning decisions being made. I'm not criticising the planning department of Manchester City Council, but I get lots and lots of complaints. I've got several current cases of people who were involved in planning applications and who are going to have the decisions on that not in our town hall, but in wherever it is, heaven only knows where it is, where the mayor will have his or her offices. I've received the planning applications for the current week today, because on my insistence I get Manchester City Council to send me them every week so that I know what's going on or is being proposed to be going on. And as it happens, there's a very, very, very major rebuild of Stanley Grove School, which will cost millions. And if that's desirable, fine. I've been connected with Stanley Grove School for all my 45 years as MP. But I'm not for a moment saying that that isn't a desirable development. But while now, if people object to it, I don't know why people would object to it, but people have got their own wishes and their own initiatives. If people object to it, they go to the city council planning department and there's a procedure. And in another case, that procedure is quite complicated and gives people chances. But I do not know, and it's not just I, nobody knows how the planning procedure will work when this happens. We have my fellow speaker who's going to talk about the National Health Service. The National Health Service, in my view, and I very much doubt if anybody in this room will disagree with me, is the most important service that we have in this country. It's vital. Everybody needs it from time to time. Some people need it a lot of the time. It's under attack from this government now. I've been bombarded over the past few days with letters from constituents who are in the medical profession. One who's been a midwife, married to a doctor, and nobody knows what's going to happen to the doctors as this proceeds. But at least we've got a structure. We don't know what the health structure is going to be under the devolution. And what we also don't know is how the money is going to be allocated and who will allocate the money for this service and for lots and lots and lots of other services as well. And what is happening is that the whole administration of the National Health Service, the whole service of the National Health Service, doctors, nurses, midwives, carers, all the rest of it, is going to be dumped on this administration whose structure we don't know. But do we know whether sufficient money is going to be allocated? Because one of the big worries right from the time that I heard about this was and is that is there going to be enough money to carry out the services that are going to be devolved in whatever machinery the devolution is decided in order to give good service? I know some people in this room, I don't know some people in this room. My guess is that in this room there is a person, or there may be people, whose lives have been saved by the National Health Service. And I want that to go on, but I don't know how it's going to work under this devolution. And I don't know how much money is going to be provided, and I don't know whether that money is going to be sufficient to carry out the services that are needed and relied on and are life and death to a lot of people. And I'm involved in Parliament a great deal with the NHS. How can you not be when it is the most vital of all the services that we have? But we don't know how the devolution is going to work, and we don't know, and above all, that's the most important thing, is whether it will be enough. Now, some people might well say it will never be enough, and that's probably true. But it's one thing to say it will never be enough, And it's another to know that this city our city has suffered the worst cuts of any local authority in the country from this government. That money has been taken away from this city and handed over to plush suburbs and rural areas in the home counties in the south of England. There is no guarantee whatsoever that it's going to be any better. And if you allow me to digress, housing has always, from the day that I got first elected, housing has always been one of the most important, what used to be called, services in this city and in our constituency. When I was first elected, there were still slums, and Manchester City Council demolished the slums and reconstructed and provided very good housing. And the chair has said that I was a minister. For a time I was a housing minister, and I encouraged that local authorities should build houses, and that those houses should be of the highest quality. And we took over houses as well. If you know Stamford Court in Longside, that was a private block of flats, and I arranged for that to become public sector housing. Now, because this government doesn't like public sector housing, the money for it is minimal, and it can only be involved in repairs, because neither the local authority nor the housing associations have got the money to build new houses. The best they can do, which some try to do, is to keep them in good repair so that they are acceptable to the people who live in. But there's going to be a housing investment fund of £300 million. That sounds very good, doesn't it? But it's £300 million over 10 years. That's £30 million per year for 10 boroughs, which means £3 million a year to 10 boroughs. Now, I don't know what will be done with that money, but what I do know is that it's a fragment of what's needed to deal with the severe housing problems that we have in our constituency. And we don't know what's going to happen with regard to that, except it's going to be transferred to this administration, however it operates, and heaven only knows how that money is going to be allocated. When we had housing with Manchester City Council providing the housing, we or our local council, I as MP or our local councillors could lobby about housing. But who will we lobby when there is a mayor for 10 boroughs, and that mayor is not accountable? If we want to get rid, I'm not saying we should get rid, I'm far from saying we should get rid, but if we want to get rid of the leadership of this council here, there's a way. But once that mayor's in office, and I have to say I'm not very clear, and I've done loads of research on this, I'm not clear for how long that mayor is going to be in office. The bus services are going to be taken over and controlled by this new structure. The mayor will also become the police and crime commissioner. Now, I get lots of police cases and I take them to the police, or I take them to the police and crime commissioner, who was elected specifically to deal with those issues. But the mayor will have a multitude of other duties. And if I write to him or her with a complaint, am I going to get the same reply? I don't mean the contents of the reply, but will there be a reply in the same way as I get letters now from not from the Police and Crime Commission anymore, because he's the acting mayor, but from the Deputy Police and Crime Commissioner, Jim Battle. So we've got that. But we go on. There's power to restructure further education in Greater Manchester with control of the apprenticeship grant for employers. Well, further education is right at the heart of my concerns for my constituents, because far too many of them don't get the chance that they have and which I had when I was their age. Let me say immediately, it'll sound boasting, but I don't want you to think I was privileged. Every fragment of education I got beyond what was then called council school and is now primary school was won by my winning scholarships, because I was a precocious little boy. But I don't want my constituents to have to rely on the prospect of scholarships. I want them to have what I had, because whatever I had in life, I want from my constituents. And that's the way that I've operated throughout my years as a Member of Parliament. And then there's going to be joint commissioning with the Department of Work and Pensions of the next stage of the work programme. Now, the Department of Work and Pensions has probably some of the most oppressive policies with regard to my constituents, with regard to penalties that are imposed on people, with regard to the bedroom tax, which is one of the nastiest taxes that's ever been imposed. And yet, Department of Work and Pensions, which is run, of course, by a member of the government, together with the present structure or the future structure about which we do not know. As I say, we've got the housing, we've got the health and the social care, and who's going to look into what the mayor does? The government says that the newly elected mayor will be subject to scrutiny by the existing scrutiny of the Greater Manchester Councils, the GMCE scrutiny pool, made up of 30 executive councillors drawn from the 10 Manchester boroughs, which means there'll be 3 councillors to scrutinise him from our entire city. How's that going to work? Again and again and again, it's going to be social care as well, and social care is of exceptional importance. Some money is going to be transferred from the National Health Service to local authorities, or vice versa. Nobody knows. Nobody knows what's going to happen with the NHS money. The fire service will be abolished. The Greater Manchester Fire Service will be abolished and its functions transferred to the mayor. The mayor is really going to have her or his hands very, very full indeed running. It's the same with land. There's going to be a land commission. And we go on and on and on. And again, it's going to, this structure is going to have relations with the European Union. The government has agreed, it did it last month, to pass control over European Union structural funds, this new structure in Greater Manchester. And there will be the power to decide on the allocation of EU structural funds in the Greater Manchester area. So again and again and again, we're going to have a situation in which the structure that has existed, I won't for a moment say that it's worked perfectly, but it's certainly been accountable. It's been accountable, and we can take our issues to our local councillors, and I, as I'm afraid I do from time to time, can harass the city council to try and get better service out of it. We don't know what's going to happen. So this is what we're going to have. We're clearly going to have to live with it, because there's no chance whatever that it's going to be changed. The government have issued a series of announcements right up to last month about it. And bear in mind that this whole structure is the brainchild of the Chancellor of the Exchequer. And what does he want to do? He wants to cut in order to give tax relief to people who he thinks will vote Conservative at the next election. He's Member of Parliament for Tatton. Well, good luck, Tatton. All I can say is I don't think they know much in Tatton about what happens in Levenshulme, Gorton and Longsight and Whalley Range and Russia. So I'm very sorry to have to be negative about this. If there had been any consultation rather than decisions, then things might be different. I'm very sorry I didn't see that Councillor Julie Reid is here. Of course I welcome her as well. Like Peter and our other councillors, she works very hard indeed on behalf of all of us. What I said to you, I'm afraid, is negative. But we've got to live with it because it's going to happen. And that means that we all have to be far more alert. It's very good that so many people have turned up at this meeting this evening, and I can anticipate that they're going to be in touch with me and with our councillors about this issue. I wish I could have made a more positive speech and a more optimistic speech. But here we are, that's it. Let's get ready and let's do what we can to save our city.
We had a Labour group meeting the other night and none of us are happy about it. There's some people who felt a lot more sort of open to speaking out when he wasn't there, they are normally. And our reservations, firstly about the NHS and about social care, so no more money, there's less money actually in fact. And a lot of the social care is in private ownership. And there are no answers to how that's going to work. How is it going to be integrated any better than it is now? It's going to get worse. Why would George Osborne want to get involved? The leader of Manchester City Council had this idea and thought the Labour Party wouldn't listen. Tried it before, but then Miliband wouldn't listen. Gideon did listen. The first I saw of it was when I saw it on the evening news. 12 white men, am I right? Over there. We weren't consulted, were we, Peter? No, we weren't. So that was the first I saw of it. So privatisation is definitely on the agenda, and I think he must be laughing his socks off, George Osborne. He must be thinking, got all these Labour leaders here, and they're all buying it. They're all buying this myth. Well, I can tell you what happened at college today, because I work at Bolton College. And Joanne Green, who's actually Richard's ex-partner, that's what the story, is the assistant principal for quality at Bolton. And we were in a meeting the other day, and she says to me, we're getting a review coming in. First of all, they're going to review Manchester College on Monday and Tuesday. Then they're coming to do Bolton on Thursday and Friday, and they're going to work their way through the whole of the Greater Manchester College. This is not Ofsted. This is some reviewers from the government, okay? And they're going to come in and they are going to review the provision in Greater Manchester, and guess what? They're going to look at mergers. And they're going to look at mergers across sixth form and FE. Ultimate aim of George Osborne. Do not underestimate that man. The pig story and David Cameron was no accident. No accident. He's working with Ashcroft to undermine Cameron to get him out, I'm telling you. Because his ambition is to replace him. And unlike Gerald, I think we should fight. Right? Well, I'm heading down to Brighton tomorrow. And I'm going to see Jeremy. I represented him in Withington. Yeah? And I am there to back him. I'm not going to allow this to happen, to split. I'm not allowing the split in the Labour Party. It's not going to happen. We've got Lib Dems moving across. We've got Greens moving across. We've got to build a movement on the left, right? And we've got to stop this before it's signed. That's my view, because I think it's more dangerous than anybody ever envisaged. And I honestly think that Richard did not mean it to be, but he was being used as a pawn in a game. And I'll be honest with you, once he realises how bad it's going to get, and it's privatisation by the back door, that's exactly what it is. Breaking the National Health Service down, breaking education down. And I'm telling you, I'm going to be there fighting, because I am not. And I'll be speaking to Jeremy when I get down to Brighton, and loads of other people on the left, and saying we've got to stop this. If we don't stop it in the northwest, because that's where the pilot is, and why do you think they've come to the northwest to do it? So it's a kick-in. It's a kick-in for not voting Tory, I'm telling you. And then they'll take it round the rest of the country. Right? Well, if we don't stop them, nobody will. And we've got to do it.
Thank you.
Hello, my name's Emma Runswick. I'm a medical student at the University of Manchester. I'm training to be a doctor, and I'm an NHS campaigner. And I absolutely agree with you. We've got to fight this. But I'm not going to speak for too long. I'm mainly going to provide you with information and then hear your ideas for what we should do. I'm going to start with a kind of a brief overview of what I think is wrong with the NHS at the moment. Because Gerald's absolutely right, it's our most magnificent service, and it's probably one of the most important things we do in this country. It has got problems. And the first of those is that it is currently being privatised. It's been operating an internal market for a long time, since the Health and Social Care Act a couple of years ago. Operating the market has become compulsory for areas to do, and it's been very slowly sold off. Operating the market, according to Keele University study last year, is costing us £9 billion a year. That's £9 billion a year that we are not spending on patients. That consultancy companies like McKinsey and PwC are pocketing, and that healthcare organisations like Bupa and Virgin Care and Care UK and others are pocketing as profit. The second problem is that we've got PFI debt. This is a technique that the last government and the government before used to keep off capital spending from our budgets. And it's costing us £2 billion a year. We've got a massive problem with social care funding and staffing. And the problem for the NHS there is that we can't move people through the system. We've got people, and this is a horrible term, but we've got people bed blocking, people in medical care facilities who don't need to be there. They need to be looked after, but they're not in need of medical care. And I see that fairly regularly on the wards. We've got stagnant funding. So even though NHS funding has been ring-fenced or protected, as the Tories would say, in real terms that's a cut, And as demand rises, it's even more of a cut. It's not just a cut because of inflation, it's a cut because demand is rising. And the last problem we've got is massive understaffing. Poor workforce planning and deliberate sacking of staff. Under the last government we lost, under the coalition government we lost 6,000 frontline nurses. Deliberate policies have led us to the position of what is basically unsafe staffing levels, and plugging those gaps through agency staff who cost a great deal more. An agency doctor, a locum registrar, costs about 4 times the cost of an employed doctor. So those are what I see as the main problems in the NHS. But now I'm going to talk about what Devo Manc offers. And the devolution deal offers to the Greater Manchester Authority a cut in funding. The £6 billion that we're going to get for healthcare and social care is a cut of about 15% on what's currently spent in both of those areas, in all of those 10 authorities put together, and the GP services and secondary care services that we currently provide. That doesn't look to me like it solves any of the problems that I just talked about. It offers us the merger of health and social care. Now that theoretically is a good thing. I would be in favour of a merger of social care into the NHS. I want social care to be provided free at the point of use for all who need it, integrated with healthcare so we can move people out of hospitals and into care close to their homes and close to their families. I think that's a good idea. Unfortunately, that's not what they mean by integration of social care. What they mean is that the budget of the NHS is going to be pilfered in order to pay for the gaps in social care. And what they mean is that a service which is currently free at the point of use for all is going to be merged with a service that is means tested. And we can all see the problems there. NHS campaigners like myself are expecting that some of the services that are currently provided to those people who receive adult social care, so adults with learning disabilities and elderly people, so things like speech and language therapy, physio, not normally things that are provided by doctors, but things that are provided by allied healthcare professionals. We're expecting that those are going to be pushed out of the umbrella of free and into the area of means tested. The next solution that Devo Manc offers for healthcare is compliance with the 5-year forward view. The 5-year forward view was a plan that was written by Simon Stevens of NHS England in October of last year. Simon Stevens, who was headhunted from an American healthcare company, where he's done very well for himself, headhunted into NHS England. And the 5-year forward view claims that it could save £22 billion from the health service, mainly through 2 prongs of attack. The first being a modern workforce. And in Simon Stevens' mind, the modern workforce means a lower skilled set of staff. They're attacking training for medical professionals of all types, doctors, nurses, midwives. And they're introducing new positions, new roles, such as physician's assistants and others, who will be able to do some of the jobs that currently doctors and nurses do, but won't have the wide range of skills. They are going to get rid of unsocial hours payments. Those are supplements that healthcare professionals receive for working ridiculous hours and providing new care in the middle of the night, on Christmas Day, during Eid, and every other day that you might happen to fall ill. And by sacking staff and relying on volunteers. So that's the modern workforce aim. The second thing that happens in the 5-year forward view is the new models of care. Now, I said that Simon Stevens had been headhunted from American healthcare, and this is where he really comes into his own, because the new models of care are based on American healthcare maintenance organisations. And the plan generally there is to move care out of hospitals into the community. And they've sold this to the BMA and other healthcare organisations or representative bodies for healthcare professionals on the basis that they use phrases and terms that we've been asking for years. So we want care in the community. We want there to be self-care. Self-care is inherently empowering for people, particularly people with long-term conditions. But self-care is supported. Self-care still costs money. And what they are implying is, under this 5-year forward view, is that it won't cost them any money and there won't need to be any support. What that means, what self-care really means under 5-year forward view, is no care. Care in the community doesn't currently exist, and I'm not sure it's going to, especially with the quitting funding. The idea is to move the care out of district general hospitals and into specialist centres. We're already seeing that in the Healthier Together programme, and into GP services and out of healthcare provision altogether. I don't think either of those are particularly great things to do, but that's what it offers us. The fourth thing that the Devo Manc offers us is prevention. They say there's going to be a greater emphasis of prevention in our healthcare service. But unfortunately, there's been £90 million of public health cuts. So I'm not sure how they're going to prevent people getting ill if they're cutting public health. Public health, by the way, has already moved out of NHS and into council control, and then ruthlessly attacked by the central government. It offers us centralisation of social care. I know that sounds a weird thing to put in devolution, but currently social care is controlled by councils. Accountable local councils who run services locally to you. And that is going to come into the control of the Mayor and the Greater Manchester Authority. And we're expecting that care to be less accountable. We're expecting that some of our local services will close down and moved to cheaper areas so that they can sell the land. And we're expecting it to be generally less available to people that need it. The final thing I'm going to talk about is whether this is really a devolution at all. The Greater Manchester Health and Social Care Partnership Board, which is going to be responsible for planning of NHS and social care, will not have any elected representatives on it.
There's a theme.
None whatsoever. It will, however, have Simon Stevens on it, of NHS England. And of course, the Treasury still have the control of the money, and indeed, continuing provision of the money is dependent upon the Greater Manchester NHS and social care provision meeting targets. And if you don't meet the targets, we won't get the money. There is no clarity on who's going to be responsible for the PFI debt. We're already beginning to see centralisation of some of our healthcare services. North Manchester General Foundation Trust is already said they're probably going to lose all of their surgery to Royal Oldham. Without surgical backing, you can't have an A&E. So we're going to see the A&E close at North Manchester General. This is a disaster for medical training. I know you're probably not interested in. Without surgical backing, you can't run an A&E. So I expect we'll lose the A&E at North Manchester as well, repeating the travesties that have happened at Rochdale and Trafford. So I don't think that Devo Manc announces the problems of the NHS or of social care, but I absolutely agree that we need to fight it. I say we, I'm an NHS campaigner with Save NHS, which is a student group mainly made up of healthcare students, not just medical students and trainee doctors, but also midwifery students and speech and language therapy students and all of those types of people. And we are running a joint event with Keep Our NHS Public, and I think Bridget put out those leaflets on your seats. which we've called Getting Together Against Healthier Together, because we think more people have heard of Healthier Together than Devo Manc, maybe, we're not really sure, not many people seem to have heard of either, to talk specifically about how we might be able to influence the changes in healthcare, primarily because there's more opportunities for lobbying, because foundation trusts still exist and they need members of the public. But we do need to fight this. This is a massive, massive problem, particularly in NHS and social care, but also probably in other areas that I don't know that much about. I'm sure you do, so I'm very much looking forward to hear what you have to say.
Where Richard Leese was addressing a group of faith groups about Devo Manc. Now, apart from the twaddle that he came out with in terms of his generalisations about how fantastic Devo Manc was going to be for the whole of Greater Manchester and for everybody in it, I tackled him specifically on the transparency, and this picks up on points that Gerald was making, the transparency, the accountability and the democracy of Devo Manc. And his answer, because there is no transparency, nobody knows, when our MP is struggling to find out what is actually going on, when none of our councillors have been asked about their opinions or given the chance to vote on this in council, when no public awareness is there, the Greater Manchester Referendum Campaign has run several surveys where they're finding 98% of people haven't even heard of Devo Manc. Actually, I think it was about 93% when they surveyed Richard Leese's own constituency. So it's deliberate ignorance being imposed on people so that a central government agenda can be imposed on Greater Manchester with the collusion of 10 people. I think it's nine white men and one white woman who are the leaders of the councils across Greater Manchester made this decision in collusion with the Chancellor. But the example was that I questioned Richard Leese on transparency, accountability and democracy of this. And his answer was, with no sense of irony, with a straight face, he said, I think you'll find that the transparency and democracy and accountability of the Greater Manchester Mayor will come once we've appointed him. I have consistently tried to find out information from the council, from Richard Leese's office, from, ironically enough, the Association of Greater Manchester Authorities wasn't good enough, so the government last year created the Greater Manchester Combined Authorities, which now exist in tandem. I've been trying to get information out of them. The only information on the AGMA and GMCA's website is there will be a Greater Manchester Mayor, Tony Lloyd has been appointed. There is no other information. I've tried to get information. I had to contact Tony Lloyd through his office as his Police and Crime Commissioner role, because there is no website. That you do a Google search for Greater Manchester Mayor, there is no website, no email address, no office details, no phone number, no means whatsoever of contacting our appointed Greater Manchester Mayor. £300 million was allocated for that housing fund over 10 years. 26% of that has already been allocated and spent on primarily luxury flats and developments in Manchester city centre, not on improving housing stock across Greater Manchester. 26% has already been allocated in the first 3 months. So,
yeah, on the health. I'm David Fernandez. I'm involved with the Greater Manchester referendum campaign for democratic devolution. There's an idea. Maybe we shall have some of that. But it was just because there's so many things we could contribute. I just wanted to. One thing that just happened before we came this evening was another mega announcement decision. As Gerald has already pointed out, these are decisions being made that none of us are involved in, and that was that we now have groundbreaking plans to unite 38 different organisations as part of health devolution for Greater Manchester have been unveiled. That plan is being led by Wigan Council's leader, Lord Peter Smith.
Are they healthcare organisations?
Yeah, the proposed structure brings together 37 Greater Manchester organisations plus NHS England, including the creation of a strategic partnership board to run in shadow format from October. So from next month, as in a few days' time.
Next month.
In a few days' time, this is happening.
This is what happens when you have a day
Yeah.
in hospital, right? You go home and something's
But the
happening.
good news is that, according to Lord Peter Smith, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity
Because you'll be allowed to see it.
to do lots of wonderful things. And it goes on to say why this will be fantastic and amazing. But such an enormous restructuring, reorganisation of the most vital life support system that we have in our society, decided upon by these megalomaniac, unaccountable leaders. But they're there, they've been elected, not by many people, mind. They've been elected by at most, I think, 1 in 3 of the people in their wards, at worst 1 in 8. So they will carry on. They will carry on and carry on until they are stopped. Now, you have a role, a very important role, to stop them in the positions that you hold, with our support, full-throated support in doing that. Next May, a number, I think 6 of the council leaders are up for re-election. That's something we need to think very seriously about.
Including Richard, yeah.
Including Richard. So there are things we can do, there are things we must do, and that was just one example amongst many of why we have to really take this seriously.